All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Yeti's Den. My guest today, his second appearance, Benjamin Monat.
Hey, Will, thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. And thank you for coming on. And I want to give you praise because coming on to podcasts, it takes courage. Like some people, there were some people I've reached out to and they're like, they don't feel comfortable talking for an hour or they're too, they feel like they'd say too many ahs and ums. That's something I'm still working on, but it takes courage to come on a podcast. So I really admire your courage.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know what's great is I love being able to talk sports, whether this was back when we were students at UMass, 14, 15 years ago, and now, we're here, continue to be friends, talking about the upcoming season. I'll tell you this is I have not been this excited for a season. I was thinking about this maybe even since 2014, 2015. And the reason why is because I think there's so many options the Patriots can do during the season. There's so many avenues for opportunity. And that's just why I'm so thankful you brought me on today because I figure, hey, you know what? I'd love to get your take. What have you noticed this off season, and what are some of the things that you've been really paying attention to as we're getting ramped up for the regular season?
Well, I feel like hiring Mike Vrabel was very big. I mean, Vrabel has won as a head coach. I mean, he got the Tennessee Titans to the conference championship in 2019. He actually knocked out the Patriots, and that was the end of the Brady Belichick run.
You're right.
And he not only that, his Titans also knocked out Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Lamar Jackson was MVP that year, and the Tennessee Titans stifled him defensively. And I remember my aunt's a big Ravens fan, and my aunt's was like, Lamar Jackson was nothing like he was during the regular season in that game. And so he has experience. Vrabel has experience winning. I really think he should have been hired last year. I mean, still, I don't think that. I mean, the Pats might have gone like 6-11 instead of 4-13, but like, I don't. Mayo wasn't ready to be a head coach. I wish him the best. I think he will be ready someday. He just wasn't ready quite yet. So we got Vrabel, and I have another story. I actually worked security at the Gillette Stadium when the Pats played the Titans in 2021, and Vrabel in his coaching debut year, 2018, his Titans actually beat our Patriots, and then they beat us in the playoffs in 2019. So when we hosted them in 21, that was our one good year, Mac Jones's rookie year, where we went 10-7, and the Titans were a good team. They came to our house and we knocked them out
Yep.
36-13. And I was diagonally across the way from one of the end zones. I watched Kendrick Bourne like basically sidestep and skip into the end zone, and that
Wow.
was pretty awesome. And sad to see Kendrick Bourne go, but then again, I don't know if he was really interested in staying. And slash, he's getting a little old.
Yeah, I think that, Kendrick Bourne, and he really stayed with the Patriots when there was a lot of reshaping of the team and the organization post Brady. So I have a lot of respect for him in that sense. What I do really like about Coach Vrabel is, it sounds like you, I'm a big fan of Coach Mayo. I think that just kind of like in any organization, to have never been a defensive coordinator, let's say, and then try to take on the team right after Bill Belichick, there must be a lot of pressure. And I think it's incumbent on any organization, whether it's in sports or outside of sports, to give people legitimate pathways for success. It sounds like what you've really been noticing with Coach Vrabel is that, he has had that success in Tennessee. And, I remember, Will, when he was coming back to the Patriots, he put up that picture on the social media. It was like him locking arms. I think it might have been with Brewski when they were players here. And just, Gerard Mayo had the joy. What I really see is Coach Vrabel had the joy, and he's got a little more maturity, a little more confidence to say, you know what, if this is going to be the way I'm going to lead the football team here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And we also got Josh McDaniels back as our offensive coordinator.
Yes. Yes. I think, what's funny is talking about a little more about organizations. I think some people they don't need to be the CEO, they don't need to be the head coach, but you put them where they're really good at mentoring, players really sharing their vision. And one of the things I've been hearing about Coach McDaniels is that he's actually been simplifying, so to say, the playbook from maybe where it was in 2017, 2018, 2019. And that makes sense. You have Brady, the best to ever do it as quarterback, then Brady can synthesize the plays to an easy to understand level. But you have a great young talent, Drake May, who's up and coming. I love the way that Coach McDaniels is transitioning the way that he almost coaches and teaches to really be effective in the 2025 NFL season.
Yeah. And it's like he spent most of his career with the Patriots organization. That's where he's had his success. Like he hasn't really had the head coaching success elsewhere. But I mean, one thing you can give him credit for, like even though his time with the Raiders was only one season plus like 8 games, he really got the run game going with those Raiders. And what I like about McDaniels is that he's great with establishing run games, and he complemented the run game very well when Brady was here. Like it was when Brady was here, it was pass first for the most part, but like he still like got in a lot of very good running backs in there as well. And some notable years with Josh McDaniels in 2008 when Tom Brady got injured in the first
Yep.
quarter of that game, and it's called the Matt Castle era. And Matt Castle let us was a key part of us going 11-5 that year and missing the playoffs. But Josh McDaniels worked with because another thing, Lawrence Maroney, who had been our up and coming running back, who
For Minnesota, sure.
yeah he got injured early on in 2008 as well.
Yeah, I forgot
But
about that.
so McDaniels was working with Sammy Morris, Kevin Falk, Lamont Jordan, and Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. That was
The
his
law
rookie
firm.
year for
Yep.
all four of those running backs,
Yep.
and they cumulatively ran just short of 2,000 rushing yards.
That is a crazy statistic.
Yeah, and they also had a lot of rushing touchdowns. Like I know Ben Jarvis Green Ellis had 5 rushing touchdowns, and like the way it was set up too, like Lamont Jordan would come in as like a baseball closer, like to run off the time, and he had like multiple first down runs. And I remember the Patriots during one of the games, the announcers like the Patriots are running the football the best they have in 25 years. And then another notable McDaniels year was in 2012. So 2011, Ben O'Brien's our offensive coordinator, and Brady is tearing up the field with like 5,235 passing yards, 39 touchdowns, and he was really just tearing up the field. One of his best years statistically. But then in 2012, Brady passes for 40, a little over 4,800 yards and 34 touchdown passes. But he, McDaniels, when he takes over for Ben O'Brien, McDaniels enables Stephen Ridley to rush for over 1,200 yards. So like he was able to get that run game to complement Brady's prolific passing.
Those are some really important years that you bring up. I remember watching the 2008 games, and, to be able to have such a powerful run offense when, your best player on the field is injured. Now granted, apologies to Randy Moss because Randy Moss, of course, an elite talent. But you know what I mean. And what sticks out to me from that season, right? The Patriots went 11-5. We did not make the playoffs. We crushed the Arizona Cardinals
Yep.
that year. Went on to be in the playoffs, and just was it Miami that year who was really good? I think it was
Yes,
just
the Miami Dolphins won the division that year. We went 1-1 against them, but they had the tiebreaker against us, so they won the division.
they did great because wasn't that the whole gosh, I forgot the type of offense, the
Wildcat.
Wildcat offense. Oh my gosh. And you know what? And I think, kudos to Miami because I think what they did is they brought some of that college-esque style offense and said, you know what? We could do this in the pros. And I remember, for Belichick, for, as many of his accomplishments, we really didn't have an answer for the Wildcat. And he even admitted that in press conferences. So I actually, what's interesting, Will? I think that 2008 year was a really pivotal year in the NFL. It was kind of towards the end of Tagliabue's, career as the commissioner. I think, believe in just a few short years, we're going to be going on to Goodell. And now it's kind of interesting to look back because what has Goodell been the commissioner for? Call it maybe 14 years, something in
I
that
think
range.
actually, if I recall, I believe Goodell took over in 2006.
Oh wow, so
So he was
that
actually
was
that was one
Goodell.
of Goodell's first couple of years, and he
Wow.
really like he was really known for cracking down on off-field conduct right away.
Right? Yeah, I remember that. Yep. Wasn't that Chad
That's
Ochocinco that had the sign that said, Commish, please don't find me, something like that?
yeah. Ocho Cinco is someone a player that would do something like that.
I'm pretty sure it was Chad Ochocinco. He's like, hey, Commish, please don't find me. It was a great sign because, to your point, it was really indicative, I think, of a little more of a really business style oriented approach to the NFL. But I'll tell you, I went to the Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, about 9 years ago. And the one thing I found really interesting, Will, was that under Commissioner Tagliabue, there was like 17 years of labor peace. They never once had any issue. So he was really good with working with the players, and you think you had LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Alexander, players like that. And the reason why I bring that up is let's fast forward now 20 years later. Before we started recording, we were talking about Travion Henderson from the Ohio State University. I'd love to know, Will, if you have any thoughts about him. Just as we were talking of maybe what he could do for the running game for the Patriots.
Yeah, well, I think this offense this year is going to be a run first offense. And Drake May will be passing, but I think it's going to be a run first offense. And I think Henderson's going to be leading the way. And Henderson, in one of my leagues, Henderson was actually ranked higher than Stevenson when it comes to drafting. And in one league, I drafted both Henderson and Stevenson because it's like that 1-2 punch.
Sure.
Like you get all their fantasy points if they both tear it up on the field. And I, I, and then in some other leagues, I believe I've Henderson at least one league. I might have him in another league as well. I'm in three leagues. Are you in any fantasy leagues?
I used to play fantasy football, but what I found is it kind of I wasn't able to really focus on the NFL and the Patriots. So at that point, I'm just like, hey, you know what? Like, I had a lot of fun playing fantasy sports. I have a lot of respect for people who can play fantasy sports, do the weekly waiver pickups, do the trades. But for me, I just kind of more like to sit back and observe the league as a whole.
Yeah, that's respectable.
Yeah.
Uh, Going back to the Patriots, so I got Henderson and Stevenson, and so last year our offensive line was a disaster.
Yes.
However, there were some like they weren't able to block for either Jacoby Brissett or really for Drake May. And however, they were able to block to the point where there were some good runs by both Stevenson and Antonio Gibson.
Yep.
And I was getting my hair cut and I said, hey, at least the offensive line can generate some good runs. And then my barber pointed out, I was like, he pointed out that you don't have to hold the blocks for as long when they do the running versus passing. So, and I feel
Point.
like so run blocking is easier than pass blocking, but I feel like with this offensive line, like it's been bolstered. I think it's still a work in development. It's still got a little ways to go, but if they can continue to build off of what they did last year with being able to generate some solid runs, they can go even further this year. And now we have a three-headed monster. We got Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson. That's a three-headed monster.
Yeah, I wouldn't really want to be a run defense having to go up against that much of a trio. And I think really it loops back to what you even said about 2008, where you had four solid running backs. And to me, it's like being in a play, right? You kind of have different people kind of playing different roles to their strengths, right? So maybe you have the main character, you have a side character, but the thing is, a lot of times they're very interchangeable. And what I'm thinking too is, while I've never played sports before, I have to imagine though, let's say if you're playing a sport like football, right? It's really about the nuances. So knowing, okay, when do you think this running back is going to cut back, right? Are they more of a power player? Are they a little more finesse? Do they have that closing speed? Do they like to run people over like Marshawn Lynch did? And so I have to imagine trying a game plan where it's week after week after week against three solid running backs. That has to be a pretty formidable challenge for the teams the Patriots are playing this year.
Definitely. And I hope that Josh McDaniels can create like a special three running back offense. Like, Belichick and um already who's the offensive coordinator back in 2011? Bill
Bill
O'Brien.
Bill
Yeah.
O'Brien. Yep.
Like they reinvented the game with the double tight offense, the two tight ends,
Yes. Yep.
like who are really tearing up the field. Like, yes, there's been two tight end. Well, first off, a lot of offenses just have one tight end out there, but their offense had two tight ends out there, and there's been two tight end offenses in the past, but like one would go for out for a pass, the other would block. Like he had Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, pardon the name, going out and for running routes and stuff. So like he really reinvented the offense and created a whole new offense, like that two tight end system. So like I mean, if you have three running backs on the field, it can confuse defenses because the defense doesn't know which running back is going to get the ball.
You know what's even interesting? If they do go with the three running back offense, I could even see Ramondre Stevenson even being a little more like a fullback role. Just
Yes.
because, and I love Ramondre Stevenson. And what's been really sad to see is just a lot of the fumbles that's been prevalent the last 2 seasons. But maybe if he transitions to a little more of that fullback role, and then he could still be that finisher, let's say in those third down situations, that might be a really productive spot for him on the team.
Yeah. And that'd be cool too because that'd be continuing the Patriots' way of keeping old school football alive. Like
Yeah.
the fullback position is really declined. Like it's almost not even really like a position anymore. Like and stuff. Like I don't on the draft like back in the 80s and 90s or like on NFL draft day there was positions who were there were players labeled as the fullback position
Yep.
and like there used to be a Pro Bowl spot for fullbacks, but now the the positions really declined because offenses have changed up their styles. But Josh McDaniels, though, another credit to him is in recent times he has kept the fullback position alive. Like
Yeah.
with the Raiders, he used a fullback, and then also the 2020 New England Patriots. That was the Cam Newton year. There was a fullback. Who do you remember the fullback from that year?
It's funny. I'm trying to jog my memory. I mean, the Patriots have had a few really good fullbacks over the years.
Oh,
There's a
Jacob
there's
Johnson.
Yes, Jacob Johnson. Yup, yup,
Jacob
yup, yup.
Johnson. Yeah, he had a
Yes, yes, he was great.
he had a really that game against the Seahawks when it was Cam Newton and Russell Wilson who were both still in their prime in that game. Remember that game?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a really fun game. And there was a Jacob Johnson had an awesome 1 yard touchdown catch from Newton that game. And then Jacob Johnson's actually the went over with Josh McDaniels to the Raiders for the 2022-2023 seasons.
I didn't know that.
And he's now on the Houston Texans. I mean, he's still being used more as a blocker, but like once again though, having Stevenson play the fullback role and like he's a little bit like bigger too. Like him like throwing blocks will enable either Gibson or Henderson. I think it's going to be primarily Henderson when they get handed the ball to really take off.
Yeah, and I think, well, that's such a great point you bring up because it really, I think, goes to a larger theme of the Patriots. It's really kind of those cross functional skills that I feel like a lot of players have on the team. Like, take, for example, too, you have someone like Efton Chisholm, right? Wide receiver in the, kind of in the name of like a nice Wes Welker or Julian Edelman, and really kind of players who are good at blocking. They are good at running passes. They're even good at, pass blocking, run blocking, whatever is really needed. And I think one of the brilliant things about Josh McDaniels' offense, he doesn't really care so much the labels or the titles of the player, but he says, what are their skill sets? Where can I put them on the football field? And how can we confuse our opponents? So they're probably maybe not going to see maybe, let's say, a wide receiver doing a lot of blocking, but you know what? After Chisholm, that could be a strength of his. I also see too, Will, is people like Stephon Diggs, who, believe it or not, I used to have my first job out of college. I worked for the University of Maryland football and basketball team sell the season tickets. And literally on our call script, if we would get to the point where someone might be interested in football tickets, we would actually supposed to tell them we have this great new player called Stephon Diggs back in 2014 at Maryland because he was such a talent, that he would really get that double coverage back then. Now, granted, I know that he's had the ACL tear. There's been a few things going on with him, but I think, and I'd love to know your take about this, but my opinion is that I don't think the Patriots have really had that stalwart leader with wide receivers since Julian Edelman retired. And I think that's really what Stephon Diggs can bring to the team.
Yeah, definitely. And like, even though Stephon Diggs might not be in his prime like he was with the Vikings and the Bills, he, I think he's still got some juice left in the tank. And I also, like you said, he could really coach up a lot of the younger receivers
Yep.
that we have on our roster. So let's take a look at the depth chart.
I love it. Let's do it.
All right.
Perfect. Yep. It should be
So
loading.
let's go up. So you said Stephon Diggs. How many
Yes.
receiving yards do you think Stephon Diggs is going to get this year?
I could see I'm calling it 1150.
Wow.
1150 because I think now that we have the extra game, and again, whether he can be healthy, I think the first 3 to 4 games you might not see that much production out of him, but I think he's going to really kind of find a stride in that McDaniel's offense, and I think by the end, I feel comfortable saying 1150 yards for Mr. Diggs.
Nice. How about Kayshawn Booty?
So Kayshawn Booty. So Kayshawn is remind me, did we draft Kayshawn last year?
Yes, I believe he was a rookie last year. The one thing I remember about Kayshawn Booty is that one of the few victories the Pats had, Patriots were 1-6, but we got a victory against the Jets at home, and we got our second victory. And Booty had a key catch to set up the game-winning field goal.
Yes, yes. No, I remember the game you're talking about. To me, someone like Keyshawn Booth, I mean, I think having gone through the Patriots team last year, I think he got really good at sticking with something even when it's not easy. And now even just kind of looking more at the wide receivers, Pop Douglas, Kyle Williams from Washington, Matt Collins, who was from Buffalo, Efton Chisholm, who we were talking about a little before. I think that Kayshon Boutte, he doesn't have to be along with Pop Douglas, the two best wide receivers. I know Kendrick Bourne was on the team as well too, but I think that now that there might be some more options for Drake May to throw to, and I think that would benefit Kayshon Boutte.
Definitely. Let's look at the offensive line. We got Will Campbell.
Yep.
He For us to do well this year, he's got to really hit the ground running. He's got to join our offensive line blocking, and we're expecting a lot, and he's pretty confident too. And I know Drake May was very happy to when he was drafted. And then we got Garrett Bradbury. We signed from the Vikings, who's definitely an upgrade at center. Ben Brown was actually decent at center, but Bradbury's much better.
Mm-hmm.
Morgan Moses, he's like 34. He's definitely a veteran, but once again, he's a big fella, and I think has gas left in the tank. And then Mike Onwenu, I know, was one of the few good offensive linemen for us last year. He's at right guard, and then Caden Wallace is at left guard.
Is Caden a rookie? Did we draft him like the fourth round this year?
Yes, let me look that up now.
Sure. Because while you're looking that up, one thing I was actually hearing is that they analyzed Will Campbell's performance in the preseason, and they said that he was a highly effective blocker in the preseason, and whether it was compared to other rookies or other linemen. To me, Will Campbell, it's that famous quote, I will fight and die for my team or to protect the quarterback that he said on draft day is Will Campbell reminds me a little bit of a different position, but Logan Mankins. Logan Mankins was described as someone who would bring his lunch pail to work every day. I mean, I remember one year I think he played with a broken NCL, torn ACL, excuse me, and he was just like, no, I show up to work every day. So hopefully Will Campbell won't have those type of injuries. I think having for the offensive line, having that identity, having someone say, yeah, we like to push people around, and we're not afraid to do so. That's our job. We're going to do it well. That to me, I think, has been the biggest mentality shift from the team last year to what we could be looking at for the team this year.
Definitely. And look at us, second stringers, backups. Backups are important because there's a lot of injuries in football.
Yep.
And Vidarian Lowe, like, yeah, he was part of the offensive line that wasn't very solid last year, but in preseason, I remember he had one good block against the Commanders that led to a scoring play. So he could potentially, I think it's good for him and Ben Brown to be backups because they can keep, learning and growing as players. And then if need be, they can fill in for any, if there's any injuries. They also could be, subbed in at times when the starters need a quick breather.
Absolutely. And to me, offensive line, it's all about, can players stay healthy? How's the conditioning? Because I think that will really make or break. Because I feel like more than any other position in football, when you have a good offensive line that's meshing, it's really about the trust and communication between the players. And I don't think they had that last year because there was a lot of injuries. Maybe because, they would be in some really tough, very obvious passing situations, which, like you were saying, Will, earlier, is the running blocking is a little easier than the pass blocking. But with the Patriots, they have a lot of long third and downs, third and longs, excuse me. That players. I remember like Michael Nwenu. I remember I'd be yelling at the TV because he was pretty heavily penalized from what I remember last year. But I also think too, it's almost like being in a band, right? If you're in a band, your drummer is really the one who's counting off the songs. You need a really strong drummer. I see that quote unquote drummer role to either be Will Campbell on the end, or to your point, Garrett Bradbury, who we got from the Vikings, a solid veteran, someone who whether the team is up, whether the team is down, doesn't phase him. He's going to make a solid connection of the football between him and Drake May, provide some good blocking. That to me could really be the difference between the offensive line really maximizing their potential this season.
Definitely. And we got our two tight ends, Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, who, before last year, I was surprised to see Hunter Henry re-sign with us. And then Austin Hooper, he was, I know he was on our team last year, but do you recall was he re-signed to us this year? Like, could he have gone somewhere else, but
That's a
chose to
great.
stay here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I'm not as familiar with Austin Hooper. I think Jack Westover. Do we get Jack? I think Jack was he undrafted free agent? I want to say that rings a bell to me in that manner.
I'm gonna check. Yeah, Hooper. So last year, Hooper had 45 receptions, 476 yards, 3 touchdowns. He re-signed with us this year, 1 year, 5 million contract. So small contract, but maybe he re-signed with us, and that's maybe he could. I feel like he could have gotten more pay elsewhere, but maybe he really likes working with Hunter Henry, and he sees something with he has a strong connection with Drake May, and he thinks that the Pats offense is on a verge of something big. So that's why he stayed here.
And I really respect that. You know what's interesting? Well, I'm thinking back to the 2001 season where there was a lot of veterans on that team, a lot of players who, made it through the peak Carroll years. Not like the team was bad, but, were they over the hill? And what really strikes out to me is the nucleus of players on that team. They really believed in the mission. of what Bill Belichick was, proposing to them. And they really, I think, established the Patriot way. Ty Law, Willie McGinnis, those great players back then. To me, I see players like Austin Hooper, and before we're talking about Kayshon Boutte, players like that who stuck with the program when it wasn't going, when the going wasn't easy, but they said, you know what, we like the Patriot way, we're going to stick here. I could really see them making some outsized gains this upcoming season because they know little things like, you know what, where's the locker room facilities? They kind of know a little bit, hey, what's the culture here? And sometimes, like in any workplace, knowing those little things can really make for those breakout performances because they feel comfortable and valued in the system.
Definitely. And so Jack Westover was actually drafted by in 2024. Actually, he was undrafted. He wasn't. He was Jack Westover was not drafted. He went undrafted and was signed as an undrafted free agent by the Seahawks on May 3rd, 2024. And then
Uh,
he was waived by them on August 30th. And then he signed with the Pats practice squad on October 2nd. And then on November 24th, 2024, he's elevated to the active roster. And he was signed to the active roster on January 4th, 2025. So maybe he's a diamond in the rough.
I keep thinking about the earlier point that you made. Back to 2011. Bill Belichick bringing out that two tight end offense, and to me, what's very interesting is having three tight ends. One thing I know about Coach Vrabel is he loves the physical football. So it sounds like it makes sense for him to carry three tight ends because they're very versatile, but they can really provide some size, ability, and strength on the offense as they're playing.
Definitely. So we got Mac Hollins, who's not really like a guy who puts up big numbers, but has had clutch catches. And that was what our receivers were like in our first three Super Bowls.
Yep.
Like David Givens, David Patton, like they were more players that like they weren't putting up like over 100 yards every single game, but like they made the catches when they were called to do so.
Did you know either in 2003 or 2004, one of those seasons, David Givens did not drop a single pass all season?
Wow.
Yep, and to your point, that's how good they were. They weren't flashy, but they would get the ball thrown to them, they would catch it.
Right. David Givens actually against Denver in '03, he ran the wrong route, but he still got open and he caught
Yes.
the
Yep.
touchdown catch to go up 30-26. And we beat the Denver Broncos in Denver.
Yeah.
And the Patriots really struggled against the Broncos. Like Belichick, I mean, Mike Shanahan was the one coach that really had Belichick's number. But in '03, in that '03 game, the Patriots won. And I remember the next day in English class, we're going over vocab of the week, and one of the words was crucial. And my English teacher
Nice.
was like, David Givens' catch last night was crucial.
I love it.
Um, so what else do you know about Efton Chisholm and Kyle Williams?
So Kyle Williams, just a little what I did is I remember around draft time, I was watching some, the highlight clips. Kyle Williams, I think he does have really that ability to go up for the big play. What I really liked about Kyle Williams is he was not afraid of the 50-50 balls, so where him and the defender had an equal opportunity to catch it, he would go up without fear and catch those. So I thought that he was a fantastic addition. Efton Chisholm, my understanding is, he's a perfect slot wide receiver. So, for those of you who might not know football that well, that's going to be you have your, wide receiver who's going to have a ton of talent. They're going to be on the very outside, and someone like Chisholm would be in between that wide receiver and a tight end or the offensive line, so he can really do some great work in the middle of the field. And it really sounds like Chisholm's work ethic was really well noted. I even saw this small video when the team let Chisholm know he made it, and he actually got pretty emotional. Said, this has really been a dream of mine. The Patriots are a fantastic organization, and I really just want to come into work every day. And when I heard that, frankly, I got chills because to me, those are the type of players that someone like Coach Vrabel in the organization, they can really rally behind someone who was an undrafted free agent like Edelman did, but you know what, really caused a lot of headaches for many defenses over the years.
Definitely. And then Drake May, how many passing yards is Drake May going to get this year?
3,500.
You
I
know
like.
what?
Yep.
That's what I that's what I thought. That's
Yeah,
what I
tell me. Yeah, yeah.
predicted.
What are your thoughts about Drake and the season that he could have?
I think 3,500 yards would be a good goal. And if he can focus on not turning the ball over,
Yep.
which he's already very good at, and once again, like there's like we're not really looking for him to be like a bombs away quarterback like Brady was in his prime.
Yep.
And I mean, I think May can continue to get the fundamentals down. I mean, he already has good fundamentals down, but like to really make it so that he's not um like generating a lot of turnovers. Like we don't want to get him down a path of like, throws a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns, but also has a lot of interceptions. So like making sure he's got a good touchdown to interception ratio.
Yep.
And May can also run too. He May actually reminds me of what Josh Allen was like in 2018. Josh Allen's rookie year, he ran for a lot of yards. And I
Yep.
was talking to my friend who's a Bills fan. I'm like, he's a pretty mobile quarterback. And then my friend's like, yeah, well, the Bills' offensive line isn't blocking, so Allen has to run quite a bit. And that's what Drake May was like last year.
Right.
And
Yeah.
but still, though, and then in 2019, when the Bills made the playoffs, Josh Allen was one of just three quarterbacks, others being Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes that had at least 20 passing touchdowns and five rushing touchdowns. So like even when the Bills O line got better, Josh Allen was still very mobile. Um, so it's like I feel like Drake May will be very mobile. He'll continue to be very mobile. He might not be running as much as he did last year, and he won't have to run for his life because the offensive line wasn't really blocking very well. But still, he's someone like if you get down to the goal line, he can punch it in, or if you're at the 5 yard line, he could do a quarterback draw and like get a lot of rushing touchdowns. And Josh Dobbs, actually, did you see his? He had one nice rushing touchdown against the Commanders. Like he basically dodged a sacker and
Oh
ran
wow.
in. So Dobbs hopefully can develop as a backup quarterback, and then if he's ever needed, if May is injured, I'm hoping May stays healthy all 17 games. But if May ever is out for a game or two, Dobbs would be a good replacement. But I'm thinking 3,500 passing yards for Drake May. But for running backs, okay, actually all three running backs. If Henderson, do you think Henderson will be in the offensive rookie of the year discussion?
Yes.
All right. In that case, he's going to top 1,000 yards.
Yep. I think that he's got such a good group of veterans running backs to learn from in Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. And I think one thing that Josh McDaniels does at a very elite level is he preserves the energy and health of his players. And I think the reason why is because he's made so many deep playoff runs with the Patriots that he understands. You know, he knows when to push his guys, and there's been some very famous clips of him getting in the face of Brady, and they kind of joke afterwards. They say, you know what, that's the game. We're both competitors. We both really care. And I think at the same time, he really knows kind of how to coach his players. He knows the players you have to get maybe really excitable with and say, hey, you know what, you're going to go out, you're going to do a great job. And the other ones, it's maybe a little more of a subdued approach. So the reason why I say that is I think Travion Henderson has a fantastic learning situation to be in the NFL where even if in the first 3 to 4 games, if he's not getting a bunch of rushing yards, that's okay because I could see Ramondre and Antonio really taking the bulk of the carries out with Sprinkly and Travion, kind of letting him get his feet used to the game of the NFL. And then, bam, maybe week 7, 8, 9, 10, we really see he's having some fantastic breakout runs. And then, to your point earlier, we could bring out, Stevenson and Gibson, and offenses might not really know where to look. Sure, they can bring all their guys in, but bam, then we do the play action, Drake May. And like you said, as long as Drake can really kind of keep those interceptions to a minimum and, knowing when to use his legs, but feeling comfortable in the pocket, feeling grounded there, I can see some really exciting things happening for this offense that we might not have seen since, frankly, either Cam Newton or even probably more since the Brady years.
Yeah, with the run game. So I think it's possible Henderson, Gibson, Stevenson combined could top 2,000 rushing yards.
Agreed.
And then two other factors is how many rushing yards is Drake May going to get? Like if Drake May has 3,500 passing yards and gets up to do you think he could get up to 500 rushing yards if he's going to be a mobile quarterback?
I'm smiling because that's exactly the number I had in my head. I think he'll get 3,500 passing yards, 500 yards for a total of 4,000 total yards gained.
Yes, and then the running backs, Stevenson, Gibson, Henderson, the three-headed Patriot monster will get 2,000 rushing yards. So that will create a total of 6,000 yards on offense. If you have that many yards, that translates to scores and it translates to more wins. And
Very well said. Yep.
yeah, and I think the question is too with the three running backs, how many they'll run a lot, but I'm sure a lot of them will also go for passes and do like wheel routes.
Yep.
But once again, that'll be part um of May's 3,500 yards. So let's do. Do you want to do a prediction? Who of May's 3,500 yards? Where are they all going to come from? So you're saying 1,200 is going to come from Diggs. So where's the 2,300 other yards going to come from?
So let's say, you know what? I'm gonna make a bold prediction here. So I think it was like 1150. I said so. 1150, 1,200 yards. Call it the remaining 850 yards are gonna come from the running backs. I think that you're gonna see another 1,000 to the tight ends. And so I'm not really that great with math, but then let's say if then that gives maybe call it another 1,000 or two to the other wide receivers. And this is the thing. I think the wide receivers will have success, but I don't really actually see them being the key crucial offensive point for the Patriots this year. While I think to your point, Will, like we'll have Mac Hollins and other players come up with some really clutch plays, I think that we're really going to see more of the running backs and tight ends kind of get things going to solidify the offense. And then from there, you get the offensive line having their confidence up. Because, like you said, running blocking is a little easier than pass blocking. Then later in the season, we can really have the wide receivers have a breakout. And Drake May is feeling really good, sitting back in the pocket. He can throw to his wide receivers, throw the tight ends. That's how I see the progression of our offense coming to be.
Yeah, and I mean also I feel like with our receivers, a lot of them will serve as decoys.
Yes.
And it's not being a decoy isn't very glamorous, but it is very integral,
Yep. One
integral.
thing I totally agree, and I'm glad to see you scrolling to the defense because one thing I've kind of been curious about is that there have been. I mean, I'm really glad to see that Keon White is, here as a starter. Anthony Jennings too. I really liked him last year, but like I know, like was it Peppers, Julius Peppers, that he recently moved off the team, and I believe that there was a few others on defense. And the one critique I have for the Gerard Mayo coaching was that it was essentially the same offense as was in 23. But I felt like that there wasn't, whether it was the same morale or same effectiveness, that seemed to have gone away from the team, which I was surprised because as a Super Bowl winning linebacker, I thought that, Coach Mayo would have been a little better in that sense. But that's one thing I'm excited for Coach Vrabel to see. And that's what I'd love to know. Do you have any thoughts in general about our defense this year?
Yeah, well, in 2023, despite us. That was Belichick's last year of coaching. Pats went 4-13, but we had a very solid defense. It was just our offense was a disaster.
And
But
that defense, too, if I can just interject, that defense would sometimes be on the field for 38, 40, 42 minutes under Belichick, and they would still be performing great. So sorry to interrupt, but that really stuck out in my mind.
yeah, and then last year, our in game one, we were really lights out against Joe Burrow,
Yep.
and that was a key part of our victory. But then in week two, Geno Smith and the Seahawks,
Yep.
they Geno Smith really was very precise. Like he was throwing bullets, no picks, and Seahawks beat us in overtime. And then Pat still looked competitive at that point, but then we fell way down after that. And the
Yep.
defense really relapsed quite a bit. So, and we're up against Geno Smith, and as now he's the Raiders quarterback in week one.
Oh,
And
wow.
stepping away from the Patriots, I got to say, the story of Geno Smith, that's a great story.
Tell
Like
me about it.
finding like late career resurgence.
I remember him with the Jets, and I remember I always liked him. I always thought he was a good player, but it sounds like what you're saying is in recent years he's really stepped up his game.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great story too. Like whatever you're doing in life, like if you're not succeeding right away, keep at it because your number will get called.
I love it.
And so we're going to predict the first game later on. But if you look at the defense here, we got Milton Williams, who came over from the Super Bowl champion Eagles. My two Eagles friends said we should be very happy to have him.
Nice.
Christian Barmore, who's been solid with us in the past. Tonga, was he on the team last year or is he new?
I think that he's new, that the name doesn't really jump out at me.
It's a, it's a cool last name. It's like Tonga.
I agree. Yeah, no, I'd be curious to learn a little more about him because
Oh, I've just looked him up. He actually he's 29 years old. He was with the Chicago Bears in 21. He was on the practice squad with the Falcons in 22. Then he was with the Vikings in 2022 and 2023. He was with the Cardinals last year, and now he's on the Patriots.
yeah,
Um,
that's an impressive group of teams that he's been with.
he's been a backup. Like last year, he only played in 13 games, had one start, and recorded 22 tackles. So, once again, though, this could be like, look, he's the only nose tackle. Like, he could have a breakout year. He could be the guy that no one saw coming. And if he goes on to have 70 tackles, we'll be able to say, hey, we said it was possible this guy Tonga could break out.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Like what I could see with someone like Tonga is just to be able to occupy, a few players on the offensive line. Then we can see people like Harold Landry III, Robert Spillane, Kristen Ellis, Kyle Duggar has been fantastic coming in off some blitzes. Christian Gonzalez, if Gonzalez can stay healthy, he'll be really good. So I that's really what I'm excited for because I mean to me, Christian Barmore to me he's been an all-star player for the Patriots. He's brought consistent pass rush. He's a smart player for many years. Same thing with Keon White. I've been very impressed with Keon White. And to me, now that I'm looking a little more at the depth chart, I could see Anthony Jennings come up. And even though he's outside linebacker, I believe sometimes he even played on the edge, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, last year. So again, like it really harkens back to I think kind of the formula for a lot of the Patriots, Super Bowl seasons is you have the right people on the team, leave it up to the coaches to place them in the right positions to succeed. And I think like anything, you know what? To me, football is really won in the trenches. We review the offensive line. The offensive line is looking nice. I think with the defense, if you have players who, are great at kind of sticking to the game plan, they know their roles, and then they can create opportunities for the linebackers and secondary to come in. We're looking at a very exciting defense, which, we have seen really not too long ago in the last 2 or 3 years has been fantastic under Belichick.
Definitely. And our secondary, we got Kyle Duggar,
Yep.
who we've had since 2020, I believe, who's
Yep.
really like hitting his prime years. Christian Gonzalez, I love him. He's a really that shutdown corner. Uh,
Absolutely.
and then Marcus Jones, Hawkins could be decent. And Carlton Davis III came over from the Detroit Lions.
Yes. Yes, you're right.
So once again, we got a good blend of home talent and free agents. Will our defense, when it comes to scoring, will we be in the top half of the league?
Scoring, no, I don't think so. And the reason why I say that is because even though I was saying, oh, I think 3,500 for Drake May, we get another 500 rushing. I could see us being in the top 20, but to me, breaking into the top 16, I don't think it's happening this year. What are your thoughts? Do you agree?
Well,
Disagree?
what about when in terms of giving up points and giving up yards? Will our defense be in the top 16?
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I'm sorry. I think it's a coin flip. To me, it really goes back to that defensive line. Are they meshing well? How are they communicating together? Because, there's even like a few players I'm thinking about the defense. Like one player I'm thrilled, I think that got signed to the practice squad was Mr. Irrelevant, Kobe Minor. Kobe Minor, if you watch a lot of his clips, he reminds me a lot of a young Devin McCourty, someone who is physical, great in pass coverage, even good with some with some tackling, for runners and things like that. So to me, it's like again, I keep going back to the 0-1 team, but this really reminds me a lot of them because you have a great combination of a lot of veteran players, maybe from different teams, but they're all coming together. And one of the things I think I like about Coach Vrabel a lot is when it comes to defense, he knows defense very well. He's good at communicating defense, like we've heard, Will, over the summer. He's been out there with the pads and he's been out there, really kind of showing some of the technique. He's been getting physical with the defense. I think even giving that mentality. This is how you succeed on the football field.
Definitely. All right, let's go to special teams.
I like it. Hey, last but not least, certainly, Andrew Beauregales. What was he, our fifth or sixth round pick this year?
Yeah, and he looked good in the game against the Commanders. He could be a fantasy steal. I in one of my
Agreed.
leagues, actually in two of my leagues, I have the Patriots defense. I'm a bit like even though they're not like ranked toward the top as of right now, it's like I'm rooting for my team and I'm optimistic about my team's defense. So as of right now, I have them on two of my fantasy teams. I have this guy, the kicker, right here, and like I didn't have to draft him. I mean, he would have been available after the draft, but I'm thinking like, will he be? Do they do a rookie special teams of the year? If they did, could this guy be at the end of the year? Could we be talking about him?
Yes, I think so because I remember seeing some of the kicks he made in college under high pressure. That he did a great job, very cool, calm and collected. And I have to say, I'm personally a fan of teams drafting kickers in the draft process, and this is why. Is because to me it's a vote of confidence for that kicker. Because let's say you have a young offense like we do, and you might have some great drives or hopefully you score touchdowns. We've seen the last few years as being suffering Patriots fans is you need a good kicker. You need someone 45, 48, even 52 yards that they can go out and they can make a solid field goal. And that's what it looked like. I think it was Borregales. I think he was from Miami, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but essentially the vibe I got from him was I think he would be a perfect kicker for the Patriots in the way Vinatieri was and Gostowski was, to really bring that consistency to the position.
Yeah, and Bar was it Bar? How do you pronounce it? Bryce Barlinger.
Yep, that
Yeah, he
Bollinger,
had some
yep,
really good punts. I remember like saying last year, like he's a foundation right now. Like if you have a good punter, as Bill Belichick said, if you have a dominant special teams unit, you can flip the game into your favor.
yep.
And Barlinger, all those deep punts, and like not just deep punts, but like getting it like inside the 10-yard line, inside the 5-yard line, like precision punting. He's definitely someone who could be a key special teams foundation for the Patriots resurgence.
I completely agree. Football is a very it's a positional game. It's very strategic, and like you said, if you're a punter who can pin teams in the 10, 5-yard lines, and what I also found too is the new kickoff rules, which I was reading about a little bit more today, where if you now get a touchback, you get it at the 35. And it really sounds like Troy Vincent, the head of the NFL Players Association, what he's really saying is they want more plays where the action is going to happen. That is their goal. So I think kind of with some of these new rules where you could have teams getting some fantastic field position with kickoffs, is being able to have a coffin corner punter like a Barlinger could really pay off for dividends for the Patriots this season.
Definitely. And Julian Ashby, long snapper, like once again, even the long snapper position is very important. And
Yes.
with Cardona, he was our previous long snapper. He just retired, and David Andrews retired. So like, there's no more players remaining from our last Super Bowl team. So this is we're entering. We've already entered, but now we've really entered a new era. But I have to say, after reviewing all these players, I am excited for this year.
I am too. And by the way, Will, could you just go down to the very bottom with the special teams? I just want to get your take on something.
Sure.
It looks like we have some great speedster: Marcus Jones, Pop Douglas, Antonio Gibson, in those punt and kick returner positions. Do you have any thoughts on those guys and any kind of the impact that they could make?
I think once again, special teams is football's biggest X factor. If
Yep.
Jones and Douglas can have good punt returns, like that could definitely make it so that our offense doesn't have to drive as far down the field to score touchdowns. And then Gibson, and as we saw, Henderson with that kick return. Actually, I'm going to put on Henderson's kickoff return. One moment.
Sure.
Like I really feel, and then that we had the question I asked is to try to minimize injuries. The players on kick return are now much closer together,
Right.
very different from how it was all spread out before.
Hmm.
So does it make it so that it also like you mentioned how kickers kick for are you know like there's more they're kicking from where do the kickers now kick from like they're not kicking from like the 20-yard line where they used to. Now it's the kickoffs like the 35-yard line. Didn't the
So
kickoffs move forward
that's a really good question.
now?
I
Because
don't.
that's led to a lot more touchbacks. But
Yeah.
if they get a touchback, they go to the 35-yard line. Now it's you might see more kickers try to do more squib kicks to kick off. But
That's a great point.
does question is kick returning easier or more difficult with the new rules?
What I think is really interesting is kick returning is now going to become a lot more dynamic, and this is why. Another rule change I learned is that now it doesn't just have to be the fourth quarter. Any team who's down can choose to go for an onside kick. Now they have to let the other team know, which frankly I would kind of like it if they didn't have to let the other team know. But the fact is that that's going to provide a lot more, just kind of like different factors that could come up in the game. So to your point, yes, it's like the NFL they want a lot more of these kick returns. Remember a few seasons ago where it seemed like every single kick was just out of the back of the end zone and just it was a boring play. From an entertainment perspective, it wasn't really great. It wasn't like the days where Devin Hester, anytime that he was kicked to, the way the rules were back then was, you couldn't really just kick it out of the end zone, so you really had to kick it to them, and Devin Hester would just burn teams left and right. So, so to answer your question, I can definitely see a lot more excitement happening with kick returns. And then you have the onside kick factor being available as long as the team is down, where we could see even some new strategy that maybe historically has never really been in kick returns in football previously.
Yes, and that's all about part of the evolution of the game.
Yes.
And Belichick is someone who understands the evolution of the game. I remember years ago, someone speculated that if Belichick were to ever stop coaching the Patriots, he would become like a parliamentarian to football,
Yeah.
like a rules guy. Like basically, he would always discuss about how the game has evolved over time. And speaking of which, UNC, where Belichick is coaching, he's making his college coaching debut tonight. It's first quarter, 8 minutes and 54 seconds left, and UNC is already up 7-0.
Okay, nice. That's a great, great kind of exclamation point just to start off. And what I found interesting, because I know in Colorado, is they lost, what was it, 20-27 for their first game. So, you kind of have the star coach there. They're losing. I'm curious to see if Belichick can win because to me, I think that'll be really important to kind of set the tone just because I've been reading, there's a little bit of drama that's been happening with the team. Like, for example, I know that his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, has been asked to be CC'd on emails, and that also she was trying to advocate, with the university to have Belichick's son to be a coach as well. So I kind of found that interesting, and just I think to me, if Belichick and UNC come out with a first one, I think that's going to silence a lot of the skeptics and really pave the way for them to have a smooth season moving forward.
Definitely. How often have you watched college ball in the past?
It's funny, when I was a student at UMass, I would kind of watch it with some friends. I haven't really watched too much of it though in the last, call it 15 years, so I can't really say I'm too familiar with what's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, I religiously follow the NFL. College football, I really haven't followed it as much. I'm not really into it. I'm very into the NFL, just not really into college. But that's changing though. I mean, especially since Belichick is coaching UNC. Like I'm going to be following UNC, and I just watched Florida State upset Alabama. Alabama was ranked number 8, and Alabama is that's where Nick Saban coached for so long. And in the South, like Alabama and Mississippi, like they're they are their football teams. Like
Oh
I'm sure
yeah,
people watch NFL down there, but like in Alabama, Mississippi, like um
roll tide.
yeah, like
Yeah.
college or also Nebraska, like Lincoln, Nebraska turns into a lot of people for the University of Nebraska football games. So I mean, there's some parts of the country where college football is actually more popular than NFL, but
Oh yeah.
and then UMass, we haven't had a winning season since 2011, but
Yeah.
maybe last year I was following them. I think they went like 5-7 or 4-8 or something. But like maybe there's a glimmer of them being competitive. But maybe they'll be good someday.
That'd be great.
All right, let's watch. You mentioned kick returns.
Opening coin toss, they do defer. They'll get the ball to start the second half. Antonio Gibson, number 4, back deep. And this ball's coming out.
There's Henderson. He sees defenders.
There he goes.
And he
there
jukes
goes.
right. He finds open field and he's gone.
I mean, just that home run finish.
It's already a new season. Oh my God, the number 2 draft pick from Ohio State takes it 100
Let's
yards.
watch a preview
What this guy can be
of
as a third down
an
back. One more look at it. Great
offensive
blocking.
rookie of the
And
year
this is what has
contender.
to happen, I think, more in the National Football League. If you're going
He
to
didn't really
change
jerk-
lateral
Lateral
the
movement
kickoff,
too. That was
you're going
very
to try
quick,
and pooch
very
get that
silky
down
smooth.
around the goal
Yeah.
line. You're going to have an electric returner.
And we got a shout out to Jeremy Springer, the special teams coordinator. We got Travion Henderson in the ball game at running back. The excitement is back.
Matt Hollins at the reset. Little screen action right here. Not really going anywhere.
There's a few tackles. Yeah, that's back line of scrimmage. Okay.
Pop Douglas over in motion, left to right. good protection.
We were talking about that too, right?
Way lower the shoulder
Running
right there by
backs
Henderson.
catching passes
Little
this
swing
season.
pass to the left.
Yeah.
Drake may look
You know,
down
my
the field.
dad
Exactly.
loves
As Austin Hooper's
screens.
outside is going to motion in.
It-
Drake may see
so
the
there could be a lot of halfback screens this year as well.
Oh, man.
Oh, look at that. Now that's beautiful running right there.
We're going to get a hold of it. Hopefully we're not going to get a hold on Camo. We didn't have a discussion that took place pre-draft, post-draft. Did you struggle in camp or not? It's his first time under the big lights here.
Look at that offensive line too holding up.
Oh, make a miss.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
That's nice.
Second time he struck
Yeah.
the shoulder at Anderson. And he is making these guys pay.
All right. So,
Finally, football.
let's start finishing things up. I am going to broadcast my new rap, and
Yes.
I'm always looking. I want to learn how to make beats, and I write lyrics, but I've had other people make beats in the past. Do you know anyone who's making beats?
I wish, I know for me as a guitar player, what I'll do is I'll YouTube sometimes like a guitar, drum tracks. And some people are very generous that they'll put it out there, royalty-free beats for other people to use. Because, it's funny, because I've heard you rap for, 15 years at this point about that? Because we first met in 2010, and rapping has always been a passion of yours. And it's always I love to really see the way that you really get into the raps. So, yeah, I guess now let me ask, will this be a world premiere?
This is the first time I'm sharing it with other people. I actually I took some poems I wrote 9 years ago. We had an activity when I was working with kids in Mass Department of Youth Services where we're given a quote and we got to write a poem or a song that connects to the quote. So me, I taught kids how to write 16-bar verses because that's the standard. So I wrote a couple 16-bar verses. So recently I took a look at my poems from 9 years ago, changed some stuff up a little bit, kind of mixed them together, and then I had some stuff on paper, and then I added to it. So I actually started this 9 years ago, and when they were poems. So it's they've evolved from 16-bar poems to a full rap track.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. All right. I'm going to get everything set on my end.
Perfect.
And you heard some of the lyrics earlier. Now you will hear it all.
Awesome. I like it.
Okay. See, it's at getting the volume set up. And all right. Share sound. All right. Okay, so I'm going to have it playing on my end, so I know where I'm at in the beat, and I want to basically take this beat and just make a few changes because that's all you have to do to make it your own. There are some beats too, that if you don't change it at all, nothing will be said. But if you do a popular song, YouTube will flag it and say, no, this isn't your beat. You gotta use a different beat. But all you gotta do is there's a lot of beats that are very similar to each other. As long as you just tweak it a little bit, then it's yours.
Yep.
And because I write my songs to beats. So, I mean, that's how it's supposed to be done. But this song right here is a really a gym song and and basically succeeding when people doubted you type of song. And Ben, I got to ask you, when you were younger, were there ever times where other kids basically wrongfully dismissed you, even though you were really they might have dismissed one of your talents when in reality you really were talented in that area?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Even at UMass, I remember I was in this business course where I was on the sponsorship team where we were asked to bring in sponsors for the soccer tournament. And, I hadn't really been bringing in a lot of the names, but, I kind of kept my head down. I could tell people were a little questioning, what's this guy's deal? And I was actually able to bring in a nice cash sponsorship from John Hancock at the time. And that was really important for the soccer tournament. So, oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure like a lot of people, listening too, it's whether they've had internal doubts or maybe other people have tried to get them down. It's like, hey, you know what? Like we say in music, you know what? It's, if let's say if you play one wrong note, the way you know it's a wrong note is what's the second note you play after that. If you kind of go along with the flow, you make that second note sound good, then the first note is not a mistake. So I think that's a great analogy, in life is sometimes, we do things that maybe we're like, ooh, I wish I didn't done that, or someone doubts us, but you know what do we do next? That's what defines that.
Definitely. And so the song, it's football oriented, but it really applies to everything in life. For example, you're new to a job or you're new to a school or like you just went up a new level and the people already at that level like dismiss you and think you're not as good, but you prove them wrong. Or just
Yeah.
because, like you said, you've played a few wrong notes or you made a few mistakes, like, and then people just assume, oh, you're not a good musician because you made a few wrong notes, but then you fix it up and then you play excellent and you prove them wrong.
I totally agree. That's very well
And
said.
with school starting up and with all the new sports season and new clubs and stuff, like I really want to advertise this to kids today, not only K through 12 kids, but also college students.
I love it.
And, really people entering the workforce.
Yeah, it sounds like his music, to your point, and I feel like, we're all students throughout life, and we can all feel uncomfortable, even for people with the title, or who've even been retired. There could be things in their life that's like, oh, okay, what is this? How do we approach this? And so, no, I'm really looking forward to hearing the rap that you compose over the speed.
All right. Give me a nod when you can hear if you think the volume's good.
Okay, we'll do.
You could be red or blue when the time of a new admittance that ended up going through. Let your self-confidence stick to you like glue. You got the power to choose and never let them tell you. It takes me 6 seconds to run the 40. The jock was like you're a peasant. Play like you're 40. There's no chance a cheerleader ever be my shorty. But I know I can prove to them that I'm Devin McCourty. Getting flashbacks to when I was in 3rd grade. My class told me I suck, said I couldn't play. They falsely believed that I belong in the circus away. But I'm about to show them my receiver ways. They filled me up with rage, got me fully engaged. Time to rip the bars off this invisible cage. Blow away their opinions with the 12 gauge. A war against these minions I'm about to wage. They tried to make me quit something else. I didn't flinch, disciplined like a black belt. Now I'm going to rip them up, bit by bit. Zip them up in body bags. Vengeance is a bitch. 2 different methods of play like Nintendo Switch. No glitch, make you miss my dust you can kiss. Become unstoppable once I found my niche. The poor guy who worked hard and got rich. Non-stop commitment to erase the itch. They attempt to take me down, all they can do is pinch. and their holiday. They call me Mr. Grinch. I don't catch up the game, the win for my team I clinch. You could be red, white, or blue, an old timer or brand new. Have had moments that ended up falling through. You gotta let your self-confidence stick to you like glue. You got the power to choose, you never let them tell you. A fresh start, got my chance on the field. Played good defense, made their offense yield. Got an interception, a pick six, I feel. 3 touchdowns in 1 game, I'm Superman of Steel. Fast forward to the present, you think I'm a peasant? I'ma open up your opposition like their presents. When you doubted me, you wrapped yourself in bubble wrap. Only for me to pop you over and over, lap after lap. Another enemy captured and put under my cap. So many openings, I filled the gap. The brand new hitting app. The killing of the chap. The killing of the grasp. Completing of the task. Doing what my teammates ask. Down, ready, hike. Get fed. Secondary gets shredded. The head of the snake in the grass. Got beheaded. This is another part of the game. Also got embedded. Talking everybody my way. Getting nothing they intended. That's right, Jock. I got my own island. Take out all you haters in a single file. Quarterbacks, running backs. Pop them like Pringles. Quarterback safeties. Make them dangle and fade away. Hit them with new angles, creating new ways. Always say bingo, they calling their back up. They got honesty down, they try new tactics. A playmaking ability breeds new styles. You have what to do, old timer new. Have bad moments that end up going through. Got the self-confidence, stick to you like glue. You got the power to choose and never let them tell you. To be red, white, or blue, an old timer or brand new. Have had moments that fell through. Let your self-confidence stick to you like glue. You got the power to choose and never let them tell you.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
Thank you.
What I really liked about that is from a rhythm standpoint, I loved how you would kind of fit in some lyrics and then you would also let the rap breathe.
Yeah.
It
Like I
was
learned, like I channeled my Eminem sometimes when I get that rap speed, but sometimes it's nice to just kind of relax and let it all, everyone can really hear each lyric. And so, and it's also like, changing up, pace of the time and stuff. Like, sometimes I'm, rapping like this, or I'm rapping like this. Like it's, changing up different voice styles is all about mastering rapping.
Yeah, it was really nice because it really kept me engaged throughout the song. I was able to hone in on your lyrics. I love the line about McCourty. I thought that was great, and you do a really good job too. Of there's a lot of great football references, but it's not just about football. You bring in a lot of life experiences, things that happen, even just more kind of situational experiences. So no, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful talent with us on the podcast here. That's I really enjoyed getting to hear the world premiere.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'm looking into other music and stuff as well. I ordered myself a recorder and I've been playing a little bit of recorder, like, and I'm learning how to play like X Files and stuff from YouTube. And I really, you're never too old to pick up an instrument. You're never too old to do anything in life. So I was thinking about picking up the guitar. Because my brother used to play guitar, and we still have guitars up in our storage. So I might take them out and try learning via YouTube. But hey, maybe you and I can make a song together.
I would love to.
All right.
I would love to. Yeah, and I think you're going to really enjoy guitar playing. My biggest advice with the guitar is you see some of the best guitar players in the world, and it's really all about the way that they warm up. So it's like they'll play with their fingers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just kind of in the same position up and down each string, and it can seem boring, but kind of like with your rapping, right? It's all about kind of getting the technique and also feeling comfortable with the instrument. What I think people make the biggest mistake with musical instruments, they don't take the time to get comfortable with it. That's why I think it's brilliant that you've been playing the recorder, because yes, we all remember playing the recorder in elementary school. Being able to play the recorder, it's your voice control. And it's little subtleties behind music, like, is your finger covering the air hole the way it should be to get a nice sound, or is it more shrill? So I really think whatever the musical instrument, whether it's a voice, whether it's a recorder, whether it's a guitar, whether it's the drums, is really taking the fundamentals and feeling comfortable with the fundamentals. That is that mental block that a lot of people that could be very good at it, they don't take the time to get past, and because they don't feel comfortable with the musical instrument or their voice, they never kind of see the progress that they want to see.
Yeah, definitely. That's important
Yeah,
to note.
definitely.
All right. So, Ben, this was a great episode. A lot of exciting times ahead. New tracks, new Patriots season. It's the fall. And any last words?
Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, I think if the Patriots, kind of going off of that music analogy, if the Patriots can feel comfortable in the schemes that their coaches are running, and they understand this is really a team, like we said, for running backs, for tight ends, wide receivers, defensive line, if they can all mesh well together, I think as Patriots fans, we're going to see a very exciting football team on the field for this 2025 season. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Uh, Insert Tom Brady voice. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, exactly, right. By the way, I saw 80 for Brady recently. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a nice kind of feel good movie, and I was thinking 'cause that's what he does in the movie too. He reprises one of those legendaries. Let's go. Yep. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Cool.
Sweet.
Well, I'm gonna go watch UNC versus TCU. It's 2 minutes left in the first quarter, and it's now a tie game, 7-7.
All right. Well, hey, wishing good luck to UNC again. Thank you so much, Will, for having me on. I had an absolute blast talking about the Patriots with you today.
Yes, likewise. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
All right. This concludes the episode. If for other podcasts, you could, and you're looking for other podcasts, well, follow me at Eyes of the Yeti on Instagram, and for other podcasts, my YouTube username is at William Snyder 8815. All right. Enjoy go out there, enjoy everything that the fall offers. Later.
Absolutely.